What is going on YouTube and y'all squad? This is your boy Yakratees. This is your review for Real Housewives of New Jersey what is season 13 episode 4. What am I doing? Um so we pretty much have like a split scene. So I'll kind of like jumble it together. You got Joe and Melissa at the new house. Joe rehashes, the boys' night. And I got better clarity in terms of what they were saying on Melissa's podcast, and it was that Joe Judice wasn't working. And it will be hard for him to have regular employment given what he was being charged with, and he was on his way. Well, within the year, 'cause I think Teresa only did 1 year, so within like once she got out, he was being deported. So no income, and I believe there was like a special that they did for Teresa and Joe and the family and all the other stuff. I don't know because I didn't watch it. But apparently they needed the Gorgas to film so it could actually hit something. So that's what they were referring to, showing up to sit here and shoot for this so you can be paid by Bravo. And Melissa feels that they took that and turned it into something else. Again, we will never know exactly what the truth is. And part of me, even though I do feel like Gabrielle is probably the only person that is possibly telling the truth, I kind of feel like, the adults are sitting here pumping the kids' heads full of stuff. Anyway, um, so then we get Teresa and Louis. Louis rehashes the night before. It's gonna be not a lot, but there's gonna be a lot of rehashes. But rehash the night before mentions Joe being upset that his sister and mother-in-law weren't invited to the wedding. Now Teresa did say, if I'm not messing, if Melissa isn't coming, why would I invite her people? I understand that logic. I do. I understand that. But then she says, no. Louis is like, but they said that, her mother and your father, like they were real close, so we're not. And Teresa doesn't care about that. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. And then out of nowhere, she says, okay, well, why didn't they invite your family to Antonia's Sweet 16? Okay, okay. First and foremost, two totally different things. This is somebody's Sweet 16. I've never heard, well, one, some of these milestone events people throw, I don't get. I've never heard of like a Sweet 16 to where you're inviting the in law of somebody, and then Louis and you were dating. Whatever. It feels like Teresa is looking for something to be mad at Joe about. But again, we don't know what the root cause of any of this is because neither one of them want to fess up to it, and I can't be that involved. I really cannot. But it's a whole lot of tit for tat. Louis convinces her to call Joe, and conveniently, this is when Joe and Melissa are filming their scene. So this lets you know that production was just like, y'all need to have this conversation. You need to get her to call, blah 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 blah, because it's just convenient that the cameras were there. Because it would be different if he called, and I'm sorry, if Teresa called and all we got was just her talking to Joe through the phone, but we don't see nothing else. Anyway, it's very small talk, very short. They really don't have nothing to say, don't know what to say. You have Louis writing on a sheet of paper trying to coach her into what to say. And it was, do you want peace? He was like, yes, peace. Let's just move forward. We don't have to talk about nothing. Let's just move forward. I don't agree with that, but if that's what they want to do, fine. Honestly, they just need to go to therapy, individual therapy, and then family therapy. But that ain't none of my business. And Teresa asks if Joe is coming to the party, her housewarming. He's unsure. We get Dolores, Mama Val, and freaking Junior. Mama Val says she's doing better with her diet. As you know, she had to have heart surgery last season, and again, glad she's doing well. But then let's just know she woke up and had a piece of cake. But in her defense, she's like, "Well, I'm doing well because I haven't had cake all week," and it's even though there was a health scare. But when it comes to diets and whatnot, people got to ease into it. They just can't jump into it. So I'm gonna give Mama Val a pass. And Dolores' whole thing is, my mama grown. If she gonna do what she wanna do, I'm gonna let it go. They talk about Paulie, him being good for Dolores, and but he is very protective of her. Frankie Jr. feels that his father and Paulie were both hesitant to meet each other, and feels that the issue truly between the two of them is truly just communication. D'Lo tells us that even though Frank Sr. was a crappy husband, that she prioritized the family and his feelings over hers, and now she's prioritizing her feelings. I see nothing wrong with that. And let me go ahead and get through this because I ain't trying to be here all day. Got stuff to do. Whew. So we get Bill and Jen A. I just want to say they have issues. They need to go to counseling. There's a lot of blame shifting, and they each had points. But rather than somebody make a point and they discuss it thoroughly and then move on to the next point, it was the whole lot of bing, 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 bing. Ultimately, nothing is resolved, but I'm gonna just give it to you. So their son Justin is going to prom. He wanted a party bus, so she decided to go ahead and do it. Bill's kind of look like the hell, and she tells us, um, no, Bill tells her that she needs to recognize that she has created a monster. Bill, you've also played a part in this. Yes, you may work all the time, but you do contribute because you and your wife need to have a united front and discuss how y'all were going to parent. That didn't happen. So there are no rules. There's nothing set in place. And guess what? Your absence does contribute. So, and then there's a whole lot of making up for lost time, this and the third. Boy, you help contribute. I'm not saying you the problem, but you played your part on your part. So Jen tells us that she spoils her kids because they had a rough year because of what Bill did. No, ma'am, your kids had a crap year because of what you neglected to do. Because what happened is, yes, your husband cheated, and rather than you do the work, you deal with what happened, you heal yourself, and then y'all heal y'all's union. You decided to bury it, pack it down, forget that it ever happened, and then it got thrown back in your face. So now you have to drudge up something that you buried, and now your kids have to deal with it. Now I will say the kids they call that ricochet real hard, but you played your part in that too. But it's easy to sit here and just blame everything on Bill. But again, there's an underlying issue. We don't know. I don't care. So you know what? I'm just really finna skip past a whole lot of what they say. Ultimately, he feels that she craps on him. She feels that he doesn't support her, and she would just like to be gassed up. Like if she rah rah, you need to be rah rah with me, and you need to sit here and encourage me to still be in a real messed up headspace and situation. I do feel that yes, he needs to have support her in public, but correct her in private. But you don't have to encourage the negative behavior. You can still be there and try to keep her from jumping off the ledge. But yeah, don't gas her up. Don't do none of that. But look, they gonna figure this thing out, and they got nowhere. We get Rachel and Jen Fessler. They connected when they first met. They rehashed the mozzarella party. Rachel is upset that Jennifer Aiden commented on her nose and if it was still swollen because she had had surgery, which I know I can't wait to listen to Color Me Pink's review. I know she gonna go in on that part, but then called her afterwards and apologizes and saying that she wasn't happy with the results of her nose job. So in essence, you were projecting and you were just trying to find an easy target and you thought that was it. And then all of a sudden the conversation turns to her talking about Dolores, and she's just trying to figure out, like, why are we talking about this? Because I'm friendly with Dolores, but I've known Frank and his girlfriend for 10 years, so why are you talking to me about her? What is going on here? And just doesn't like that. And she tells her that, and Jennifer Aiden is like, "Well, I'm just giving you the history. That's all." Okay. So Jen Fessler says, "Yeah, well, she called me too, and she was calling, look at because." They talked about therapy at the mozzarella party, and she wanted recommendations for, like marriage counseling. And then the conversation turns to Marge, her friend of 3 years, and she started to, trash her. And Rachel tells Rachel tells us that her mother said, um, what I always say, if there's a red flag waving, there's a parade coming. I'm gonna use that. I like that. I'm gonna use it. We get Marge and D'Lo, housewarming shopping. They talk about what they heard from their respective men about guys' night. D'Lo calls Melissa to get a reading on Joe because she's upset that Joe's hurting, and Joe's still pissed. He doesn't want to go to the housewarming, but a part of Melissa wants him to go so he can hear what Teresa has to say, accept her for where she is and accept what was said, and then they just let the situation go, move on. So now we get Teresa's housewarming love bubble party. So setting up for the housewarming, she shares with Melania and Gia that Joe isn't coming, which is fine. And they do feel away because, he's missing milestones. That's okay for her to share with her daughters because that's their uncle. But then goes on to share that Joe was upset, that his in laws weren't invited to the wedding. That I don't agree with her telling her daughters because you are you're pretty much putting something into your daughters' minds for them to look at your brother a certain way, whether she knows it or not. Like, that's dangerous. Melissa, we find out, will come to keep the peace. Marge shares with D'Lo and Jackie that Jen A has been bad mouthing her to Jen F. We see that Paulie is mixing well with the guys, and Frank can't make it because he has something to do. Rachel notices that Frank and Paulie are never in the same place at the same time, and then shares with Dolores, okay, well, Frank tells me that he misses you and the dynamic that y'all used to have. D'Lo just like, okay, well, look, new year, new me, got new man, can't be bothered. So the energy is awkward between Melissa, Gabriella, and Gia, and Gia misses her cousins, rightfully so. But it's awkward just watching them. The whole thing is awkward because they don't know what to say, and they're trying not to say the wrong thing to take away from Teresa's party. Teresa and Louis give a speech, and Teresa says everyone that is there is her chosen family. Words mean things. She knew what she was doing, but whatever. And says she wouldn't want anyone else there but them. And it was either Bill or Louis, but I think it was Bill that yelled, "We miss you, Joe." Messy. I really think that was Bill. Melissa, goes to the bathroom. She's tearing up. And I'm more than sure that did hurt her feelings, especially where it's just like, I'm here, to try to keep the peace, and your brother, my husband, isn't here. And now you're going to sit here and throw a dig like that out. And some of the girls just like, yeah, that was messed up. She shouldn't have said that. So the sprinklers come on at the party. That was funny. Melissa tells Jackie that she told Danielle what she said. Jackie doesn't care. Danielle walks over because she heard her name and asks, okay, well, is what I'm wearing appropriate? Passive aggressive, but I'll allow it. And, did it come out the dirty hamper? Jackie says she doesn't look like she's going to a pool party. However, she never looked her up and down like that, Jackie. You lied. And Jackie, I love you, Jackie, but see, you made me upset this episode. I'm just like, come on, Jackie, I'm trying to defend you now. So Danielle explains with her hands her not inviting, Jackie to the house. Jackie wants her to get her hands out of her face. Danielle, with her hands, is saying, well, you would know if I had my hands in your face. This is how I talk. And Jackie is that a threat? Jackie, don't be trying to care in this situation, Jackie. Stop it. Because don't do that, especially when you have seen how Teresa has acted and how Teresa has came at you. Don't do that. Don't do that. And Danielle says, you would know if I'm threatening you. And Jackie says, if and I'm sorry can't leave your mouth, then F off. Jackie, I didn't like that because you put all this in motion by judging this girl for no other reason. Again, maybe they were holding your contract hostage and you feel like you had to get spicy with the new girl to keep your position. I don't know what it is. I didn't like that. And then, yes, old girl came over there being very passive aggressive. But again, y'all talking about it. She heard it. Reality show. I get it. And when you're being called to task on it, yeah, old girl's talking with her hands. And it's just like, can you not put your hands in my face? Well, this is how I talk. All you had to do is just be like, okay, well, can you either take a step back and talk with your hands? Okay, better yet, I'm going to take a step back. Jackie, you know what you were doing. And then instead of taking accountability for what was going on, you have a blow up and then you walk off. Come on now. So Jackie goes to toast with Jennifer Aiden, which threw me because I'm just like, so you toasting with the woman that was doing research, still trying to sit here and you don't talk ish on your man? Okay. Marge butts in and says Jen A called you a snob. See, Marge is being messy where she's like, because the whole thing is, I don't like her, so I don't want you to like her. That's all that was. And Jackie says, that's not the worst thing somebody has called me. Because her whole thing is like, okay, snob, whatever. Because Jackie is snobby. We know. And then Marge says, well, I'm still mad that, she called Jen Fessler and talked trash about me. Again, there it is. And here we are having the conversation. So Jen A says she feels that Marge is threatened by her and doesn't believe that all of what she did last season or last year was because she's a hypocrite. So they call over Jen Fessler, and Jen A defends her talking to Jen Fessler about Marge by saying, I'm pretty sure y'all, Jackie and Marge, talk about me. Again, we're just gonna sit here and rationalize our bad behavior, but okay, whatever. So Rachel inserts herself and says to Jen, "You did the same thing to me after the party, and you brought up D'Lo. D'Lo like, oh, my name got brought." Jennifer Aiden says, "I said this is a situation for you not to get involved. I was just giving you the history." Jen's whole thing is I'm giving you the history, but I'm talking ish. And here's the thing: there is a way that you can give a history lesson without dogging somebody. And if you know somebody is cool with you, if you think that bone is going to be carried, you look crazy. Now, Jen Fessler, I didn't like, from what I understood, that she did not remotely defend Marge, but I appreciate at least with Rachel, her telling her like, "Hey, D'Lo, my friend, no, don't do that, or I'm cool with her, but Frank and Brittany, they my peoples. Like, don't do that." So Rachel doesn't feel that was a history lesson. Jen calls her an effing idiot, and again, we're adults. We can do all this without fighting, but this is one of those where she's yelling and all this other stuff, calling somebody an effing idiot. And again, you cannot control how somebody else responds, but it's just like, all right, now if she hauls off and pop you in the nose, I'm not saying that he dabbed her. I'm just yeah. And Rachel yells at her to watch her mouth, and Jen calls her another effing idiot. Now, on one hand, Rachel, you look like a punk because you sit here saying watch your mouth, but there's nothing to follow it. But it's clear that she saw herself losing control and was like, let me reel it back because I'm giving her way too much energy. I'll allow it. D'Lo wants to know, okay, well, what did y'all talk about and why? Like, how my name getting? Like, what is this? Jen A is screaming her point to get her point across because no one is listening. The reality is, you're wrong, but this is your way of trying to sit here, gain ground and whatnot. Because just because you're the loudest person in the room doesn't mean that you're right. Jackie gets her to calm down, and then she calmly says she called Rachel to apologize for talking about her crappy nose job because I have one too. And everybody's just like, really? Like, you have no clue. Dolores is offended by that. Just like, all right, that's real messed up. And Rachel decides, you know what? I'm just going to leave. Because I guess she really felt herself going a place she didn't need to go. She goes and grabs her husband and say, okay, we're leaving. John wants to know, you don't want to go check her? So pretty much John is doing what I think Jen wants Bill to do. And I'm just like, John, stay out of women's stuff. Like, I know you defend your wife, but stay out of women's stuff. But that was the episode. Next week, I'm here for Marge giving Jen just a little bit or a lot of bit. So y'all let me know how y'all feel about this episode. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see you all for the next video. All right, y'all. Peace out.